My amplified unit, salute! Top of the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Let's crush it. Red team, go! Wake up, and get amplified. Now, it's under new management, but it's the same WWE. What's BC talking about? Well, World Wrestling Entertainment's Monday Night Raw ratings are once again in the shitter. And this time it's under the leadership, or lack thereof, of Paul Triple H Levesque. Now, it wasn't too long ago where we started to see an uptick in the numbers, just a few months ago, right? Just a little bit of an uptick, an upswing. And that's under the leadership of Vince McMahon, when the investigation just started for Vince, and he used it as clickbait. He used smart business acumen, and he actually used it to his advantage. Now, that mixed in with his ego and his stubbornness and his defiance, but also smart business acumen. Because WWE started to announce appearances by Vince McMahon on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. Well, people knew there was an investigation going on, and he's going to show up in the middle of the ring and say words? Actual words? Could it be significant? Are these words going to have relevance, hold weight into the situation that's going on in real life? Nobody knew. It was intriguing, right? And the ratings show that it was intriguing because Vince McMahon used the investigation smartly, and fans flocked to Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. Of course, it was all just clickbait. Vince just showed up, said, "Welcome to Raw, welcome to SmackDown," then he hightailed it. But he did it for a couple of weeks, and we kept coming back every show to see if this was going to be different. It worked. And it was right around SummerSlam, too. So you're going in for the go-home show to SummerSlam, you're coming out of the SummerSlam PLE with the post-show, and then all of a sudden, snap of a finger, blink of an eye, drop of a hat, Triple H is all of a sudden in control of World Wrestling Entertainment, supposedly. Well, that's like spotting Triple H the best possible number as he begins his voyage. It's like playing a pickup basketball game with your buddies, but you know you're so much better than who you're playing against, so you spot them points, right? So it's a little bit more even. Vince McMahon spotted Triple H, the best rating possible at the time. Vince has been so bad with his booking for 10 years that the ratings were so bad as it was. But the little bit of an uptick, that was a spot for Triple H. It's like, here you go. The ball is now yours. You're either going to score or you're going to turn the ball over on 4 downs. Or get scared and punt the ball. And here we are. Just a few months later, to what many fans, even WWE tribalists, the fans that plant the WWE flag firm into the ground and they defend every move that WWE makes, even those fans were saying that the last 3 weeks were pretty bad. Or at the very bare minimum, they were not very good. And they would be accurate because BC actually has the facts to prove it. Right? Because we go over facts on this channel, not opinions. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they're usually full of shit. No, on this channel we go over statistics, numbers, metrics, ratings, because it tells you the whole story. The last 3 weeks on Monday Night Raw, the ratings have been in the tank. Absolutely in the shitter. Just go back 3 weeks ago to 10/24, where they pulled in a 1.6. Just last week, 10/31, they pulled in a 1.5. And then this week, 11/7, they pulled in a 1.59. Now, you can claim Monday Night Football to the mountaintop. Nobody is going to hear that because it would just be inaccurate, right? You can go back to 2021's numbers for the same exact weeks, and that'll show you that they stayed the same or went down. That's not football. That means you're not producing a good enough show. You're not producing a better show than what Vince McMahon was doing last year. Right? Let's do that, for instance. Let's go to 2021, 3 weeks ago. They pulled a 1.65 in 2021 for their show that was 3 weeks ago. Same exact date. I think it was 1 day off. They pulled a 1.65. This year, for 10/24, they pulled a 1.6. So they actually went down. Last week, in 2021, for last week's show, they pulled a 1.7 for their Halloween show. 1.7 last year, 2021. This year, for their Halloween show, 1.5. They lost over 200,000 viewers. And then this past week, last year, 2021, 1.54. This week, they pulled a 1.59, or should I say this year for this week. So they actually went up 0.5 this week from last year. So 1.54 to a 1.59. It may not seem like a lot, but if you're struggling in ratings, you're running with that number all the way to the bank. You're not going to turn around because you're hoping it wasn't a mistake. Beggars can't be choosers, bro. But that's the last 3 weeks. They either went down or like this week, they went up by a 0.5 margin, 1.54 to 1.59. Other than that, 3 weeks ago, they went down 0.5. And 2 weeks ago, from last year to this year, they went down over 200,000 viewers. That's under Triple H. That's not, I mean, you're looking at what? Ravens and Saints this week. Come on. That's not going to take that much, man. There's no reason that WWE should not be over 1.5s in the ratings. This is under Triple H. This is months now. Triple H has been there for months, right? We always said, oh, it's going to take a little bit for change. But if you're wondering why these numbers are consistently going down, it seems, or at the very best, staying stagnant and steady until they just go down again. If you're wondering why, guys, there's 3 main reasons you can look at right directly under Triple H's nose. And that's a big fucking nose. So there's many reasons of why WWE is failing right now. Monday Night Raw, I should say, especially. SmackDown has a few things going for them, but even that show has just remained at a standstill. And again, if you're wondering, well, damn, why can't we get over the hump on SmackDown? That show had all the momentum in the world. You can institute the same issues that Raw has with SmackDown. Raw is just hurting so much worse. And those 3 things, number 1, there's no reason to care. I go over this all the time with my amplified unit, my tried and trues that watch nearly, if not all, the videos that BC posts. 50-50 booking, I've always said this, under Vince McMahon or any promoter, will ruin pro wrestlers. It'll absolutely ruin them. What we're starting to see with Triple H, and I went over this in detail in yesterday's Monday Night Raw review, so I'm not going to go too much in depth on this subject, but I gave you guys in yesterday's video a list of wrestlers. It's basically the entire roster right now that's being used by Paul Levesque. Everybody is being 50-50 booked to a degree that I haven't even seen under Vince McMahon. It's at an all-time worst with Paul Levesque, where you're seeing individuals win one week, lose the very next week, win the very next week, lose the very next week, It's at an alarming number right now how many wrestlers are literally 50-50 to even lower than 50-50 booked standards. Triple H is actually doing a worse job than Vince McMahon with making people care and get invested into the pro wrestlers. And that's shocking because he's giving people their name back. He's bringing so many people back into the organization, and it's not making one bit of an impact. Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano, it doesn't matter who, Emma, it doesn't matter who's being brought back. They're automatically losing. A lot of them, their first matches, like Emma, Candice LeRae, maybe she won her first and then lost her second. Nikki Cross just became Nikki Cross, the crazy Nikki again. She lost her very first match to Bianca 2 weeks ago. And then she's winning last week. You can't make it up. I mean, Triple H is not even allowing his audience to care about the individuals. And by doing that, what I mean is you have to make them see that there's a reason to give a shit about them. They're winners. Like, that's a badass motherfucker. Male or female, they're badass. There's a reason to watch that motherfucker because there's something that we're going to be talking about for a long time to come. And when you just start seeing them lose every other match, and that's at the best. every other. Some of them are losing a couple in a row. And you start to see that, like Bayley formed a damage control. And if you look at Bayley's numbers, win-loss column, it is tragic what has happened to Bayley. And people like BC, we're taking inventory, right? Not everybody is sheep. Not everybody is watching and being fed everything that Paul Levesque is feeding to us. We're going to sit there with our wooden bowl and spoon and go, please, sir, can I have some more? And there's Paul Levesque feeding us some of his bullshit stew like Vince used to do. No, there's fans like BC that absolutely are taking inventory of all these losses. And we're asking, why the fuck are we going to care about these people? You're not giving us a reason. 50-50 booking is at an all-time low. The worst, I should say. So let me go back. Let me run that back. It's at an all-time high, 50-50 booking under Triple H. It is at its worst that we have ever seen. Much worse than Vince McMahon, and I didn't think that was possible. Number 2, a big reason why Monday Night Raw especially is failing under Triple H. Lack of storylines. They're falling flat, right? This is one of the things we thought Triple H was going to bring back. And at first, with stories like Miz and Dexter Lumis, we were like, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for Triple H. Lumis comes back. There's a storyline finally. It's Miz and Lumis, not something we would probably run out in the middle of the street and fucking scream out that we're excited about, but at least it's a storyline. And then, slowly but surely, you started to see something. It was falling flat kind of quickly, right? That's because it was clear Triple H and WWE, they had no direction to where it was going. They just started it and they didn't know where it was going. It's like a fucking train. You set that son of a bitch in motion on a track, but you don't really know where the destination is. The train doesn't know where it's stopping. At that point, the train doesn't even know where the track ends. At this point, I don't know if Paul Levesque even know where the track ends, right? He keeps going and the story just unravels. And the last 2 weeks, starting with last week with Johnny Gargano's, and we love Johnny Gargano, and I love his storytelling, but it was just a stupid story that he was trying to fabricate, that somehow Miz and Lumis are together, and then they had to go back and cover all of the steps where that doesn't make sense. So then the story got more bizarre, and then this week they doubled down on it, that Miz has a relationship with Lumis somehow, and the story is off the fucking rails. And now most fans are just ready to be done with that shit. There's a difference between long-term storytelling, which a lot of us love still to this day. You have to have long-term storytelling because that's going to get people invested. But when you do it so haphazardly, when you do it so negligently, so recklessly, you're going to get to a point where the fans just want it to be done. And I gotta actually say, in 2022, where human beings, their attention spans are so damn short, I will actually stick up for a lot of wrestling fans here and say, it's not even attention spans at fault. It's the storyline just is beginning to suck, and it has for a while. You could go over to the women if you want, with Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Alexa, and Damage Control. For 4 months now, they've been doing nothing but scream at each other and brawl. That's not a storyline. I know it's cute to say that it is long-term storytelling base. It's not a storyline. They're literally doing the same things every single week, every show. Screaming, brawling, sometimes both. That's not a storyline. It's the same type of stories we've seen under Vince McMahon for months and months, and the rematches keep coming. It's the same thing, but if you're being honest with yourself, you know that. If you're just hanging on hope ever since Triple H took over, I use that in quotes because we don't know how much involvement McMahon truly has these days. But if you truly are hoping that it gets better, then you don't want to admit defeat, right? You're not going to you're going to lie to yourself. You're going to say, no, I'm going to give Triple H even more time. He just started, right? We said that after a few weeks. We said that after a couple months. 5 months down the road, we said the same thing. Give it time. No, these are things that should be corrected on day one on the job. Just don't 50-50 book your talent. That's not hard at all. You just make sure you get a team in place, and everybody has to make sure that you're actually utilizing your talent to the best possible degree imaginable, because that's the only way the fans can give a shit about them. And storylines. You just come up with storylines, but you have a place, a destination for the storyline. It's not just the journey, which should be epic and fun to the next level, but you want to have a destination. It's clear that H doesn't have any. Not even my boy Bray Wyatt, who he's been phenomenal since his return. But so far, he's only doing promos in the middle of the ring. This is pretty much Bray getting to be Bray and do what Bray wants. But once Triple H starts making the decisions even more, does H really have a direction for Bray? Does he know where the destination is? I'm hoping this is one of the cases where he just lets Bray do Bray. Because Levesque is showing us he cannot be trusted with any of this. And number 3, how about bizarre booking? Just bizarre. Like last week's Halloween edition, for instance. This was a perfect example of where if H really wanted to show us that there's this change and he's not going to do things like Vince, well, this was a chance to do it. Don't make a hokey type of a holiday show where it's just literally a goofball show from top to bottom. Let's get away with the trick or treat. Do away with the trick or street fight match. And for certain, don't put a pumpkin on somebody's head and make a poor wrestler walk around the ring like they're fucking drunk off eggnog already, spiked eggnog, and they're walking aimlessly around the ring with a giant pumpkin on their head. Right? These are Vince McMahon staples that we have been complaining about for years. It doesn't do anything for the wrestlers. It makes them look like idiots, like jokes, like embarrassments. And for the fans, nobody's getting excited for these matches. So this was a chance for H to just stop that, you know? You can still have a Halloween-themed show and have some fun, but let's make it, like, interesting, like WCW used to do with Halloween Havoc. That's a fun Halloween show. Instead, H brings the trick or street fight right back, and Otis is wearing the giant pumpkin head this year. Moments later, eating a pin. An RK Bro with the pumpkin still on his head. It's bizarre that he would even entertain that idea. And there was people that still tried to defend it, right? Oh, it's no harm, no foul, BC. It's a fun Halloween show, that's all. But under Vince McMahon, we were trashing it for justified reasons, right? Now all of a sudden, it's a tradition, BC. Every Halloween they do it. Don't worry, BC. Well, trust me, I'm not fucking worrying. Paul Levesque in WWE is going to have to worry when they see the ratings, and that's why they pulled a 1.5 for Halloween this year. Lost over 200,000 viewers from the upwards of 1.7, actually just over 1.7 from last year, the Halloween show. 1.7 plus 1.5 this year. So the fans saying that they're done with that shit, they expect more out of H, they're right. The facts back that claim up. Bizarre booking. And then Theory this past Monday night, that speaks for itself. I mean, that is absolute clueless booking. Or just internal sabotage, which it's looking more like it was internal sabotage and just really botched booking by H. And people try to defend it, right? Oh, he needed a reset. The character wasn't connecting. He needed to correct Vince McMahon's wrongs. He wants a clear focus going into next year for Money in the Bank, so he needed to do this as soon as possible. He was never going to beat Roman anyway, so let's just rip the Band-Aid off now. Everybody tried to come up with an excuse, and they failed to talk about the biggest botch here, which, forget destroying Theory's credibility, because if you're like BC and you have a brain in your fucking dome piece, I mean, it's going to be hard to forget that ever. This is a Finkel-Einhorn situation, right? Laces out. If you've ever seen Ace Ventura, Finkel was never able to get away from that missed field goal, right? Laces out. Scott Norwood, Super Bowl 25, Bills versus the Giants, and you never saw that dude ever again after he missed a field goal. This is one of those things where it's going to stick with him forever. So it's funny when people go, he's not buried, this is not a big deal, you got to look about why it was done. Please, H doesn't even know why it's done. You're going to try to fucking vouch for Paul Levesque when Paul Levesque doesn't even know why it was done, other than probably internal sabotageal reasons. But the point is, if you think for 1 second this is going to follow this kid for the rest of his career, you're wrong, because you're not going to speak for me. I'm telling you that's what's happened for a lot of fans who just don't let this booking just fall to the wayside just because it's Paul Levesque. Now, we're going to hold him accountable, and we feel sorry. We feel bad for Theory. 25 years old. He still has a whole career. Everybody needs to calm down is what people are saying. Guys, call it like, be honest. It doesn't matter if you just don't like Austin Theory. Maybe you're threatened by him, right? You think he could take your girlfriend because you're a fucking ugly schlub. Who the fuck knows? Don't make it personal with Austin Theory. It was a booking botch by Levesque. Just call it what it is. These dudes, man, they have such fucking hate for people like Sammy Guevara and Austin Theory. Because they can get girls? Is that a touchy subject for you? Put the pedals on a little bit. Right? Smack that brake pedal. Just pump on that brake just a little bit. Just a little bit. A little bit. I tell you, man, anybody not being honest with them, anybody saying that this was not a booking botch or going over the fact that this dude cashed in on a mid-card title on an open challenge night. Please think about that. While you're talking about why this was done and trying to come up with every reason under the sun, you keep forgetting or you pass over really quickly the biggest botch of it all. The Money in the Bank concept has just fucking been buried. It doesn't make sense. It makes everybody involved look like clowns. Embarrassments. That is the equivalent to winning the Royal Rumble and choosing the United States Championship after you already found out that the next night on Raw, there's going to be an open challenge for the United States Championship. But you're going to use your Royal Rumble victory to claim that you're going after that title, and you're going to wait till WrestleMania to do it. Even though there's an open challenge the very next fucking night on Raw. But you're going for the U.S. title after winning the Rumble. That's what you're telling me. That's the equivalent. You won Money in the Bank. You have a contract to win one of the top prizes in the industry, or at least in the company. And you choose to not go for the one of the top prizes, not even NXT's title. You chose to go for a title you've already owned. And the backtracking. The amount of people trying to come up with reasons. They're like, well, it fits the character. You see, he's egotistical and he wants the title back. And he's so into himself that he doesn't even think about what he's doing is so wrong, so he cashed in. He's going to realize he made a mistake. That's the character, Beasley. Wow, are we stretching? Are we fucking moving goalposts or what? It was one of the worst booking decisions I've ever seen in the 30 plus years that BC has been watching this industry. And it's not even frustration when I see people defend it now. Here we are the next day after I've already spent great length and time and detail going over this subject in yesterday's Raw review. Now I just laugh when I see people defend it. It's still tragic and I still feel so bad for Theory, and it's unacceptable what Triple H approved on Monday night, but I can't help but laugh to see all of the stupidity of people trying to defend the reasoning behind it. There was none. It's internal sabotage, but it is adorable that you're trying to come to Triple H's aid and defense. I'm sure he still will not give a fuck about you, just like he never did in the past. But keep trying to get his pants off, to stroke his ego, that big nose, and his fucking, we'll let Ali will go and judge his testicle area, right? Ali is good for that, right? Because that's good Triple H booking. Ali is the residential backstage package measurer. Just ask The Miz, right? Oh, yeah, there's Ali checking out The Miz's package and letting him know if it's big or small or just a little bit average. Because it's Triple H's booking. Ali's being booked beautifully. Checking out people's packages backstage. Yes, Ali is going to have to report to the Triple H dick defenders because they're going to want to know the size. Oh, I tell you, brother, you can't make this shit up. Bad booking botches. Bizarre booking botches. The 50-50 booking being even worse than what Vince was doing the past 10 years. The lack of storylines still, and the ones we do have falling flat because it is clear there's no destination for the journey. These are all some of the issues, while Monday Night Raw is taking a shitter in the ratings. And if you go back to last year, the 3-week span of this exact time frame, but last year, 1.65, 1.7, 1.54. This year, a whole year later, and with Paul Levesque in charge for months now, a 1.6, 1.5, 1.59. They have either stayed the same or 2 out of the 3 weeks, they have fallen from last year's numbers around this time. So they are dipping in the ratings from a year ago. Under Paul Levesque this time, you can't even blame Vince McMahon, we're being told. And this was supposed to be the savior. What do you want? More time? It's going to take more time. Rome wasn't built in a day, Leslie. If this is how he's already handling the day-to-day business operations that needed to be changed on day one, I don't even want to know what the fuck he's going to try to change with the long term. Because somehow he could end up being worse than Vincent Kennedy McMahon. That may seem like an outrageous statement, but based on the numbers, he is currently doing worse than Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And you can't even blame football, the Ravens, and the Saints, as if anybody gave a fuck. Because you go back year to year, and these are the lowest numbers. People are not flocking back. H is not producing a product worthy. Look at the 3 hours this week. Look at what they pulled. And that'll tell you everything you need to know, from a 1.6 hour 1 to a 1.4 hour 2 to the low 1.3s hour 3. Hour 3. I guess that the best news to come out of this is the lowest amount of people in WWE Raw history tuned in to watch Theory embarrass the shit out of himself, the Money in the Bank concept, and pro wrestling. The least amount of viewers possible tuned in for that. I guess that's the best case scenario that WWE could have asked for, because they just pulled 1.3 in the ratings for that third hour. Dropped every fucking hour. But I'm supposed to sit here and praise Paul Levesque because you guys might get butthurt. Perhaps you didn't read the sign. We don't bullshit here. We legit. We fucking amplified, bro. We fucking amplified. BC. That is just a little bit of a taste, a little bit of truth for you. Just a little bit. I could go hours more, but I'm gonna let you guys go about your Wednesday, rock it out before AEW Dynamite, if you guys are tuning in tonight to that show, into that organization. But that's just a little insight. You know, we always talk about the ratings. We always did under Vince. I don't feel like I'm doing it enough under Paul Levesque, and I think because I did want to, I wanted to wait a couple of months just to let him get his tone, his formula down, and it's the same as Vince and even worse. And here we are going into our 5th month under Triple H, and it's time to just call it what it is. This guy is not best for business, and he is ruining a lot of motherfuckers, and the show is somehow getting worse. I hope that changes. I want to see the best for the organization. I want to see the best for the wrestlers. I want to see the best for Paul Levesque. I mean, he may have been a shittier person throughout his career, and many people have stories about that and how he stepped on people and pretty much took a shit on them on the way up the ladder. And we know all those stories. But I still want the best for everybody involved because I love pro wrestling. I love World Wrestling Entertainment. And just like I wish the best for Tony Khan and AEW, all the promotions, the local bingo hall down the road, I hope it stays in business for years and years to come. But we got to be truthful, man. These are not good numbers. These are worse than they have been in the past, and they got to pull their shit together, man. This is not good. Yeah, this is not good. They're going to struggle to get back to a 2.1. First of all, let's just get back to a 2.0, and then we'll take it from there. That's the first fucking thing. And then we'll take it from there. Anyway, guys, BC Amplified. There'll be much more content coming up this week. Always stay subbed and notified. All right, till next time, Top Guy, and I am out. BC saying check you, think, be, live, amplified. Now, Red Team, go!